Blog Talk Radio.
Unto a higher Ahaya Alahayanawa Ahaya Shema Yasharala Ahaya Alahayanawa Ahaya Shema Yasharala Ahaya Alahayanawa Ahaya Shalom, shalom, everyone. Welcome once again to Restoring the Daughters of Zion. Well, we welcome you again, GOCC's first woman show designed with you in mind. We're your hosts, Sister Carol and Sister Shirley. Carol, are you out there? Am I coming in?
I'm here. Shalom, everyone.
And we have Sister Cherise in the background working that engineering. Cherise, are you out there? Say hey.
Shalom, everyone. Hello, sisters.
Wonderful, wonderful. We are coming to you live via Blog Talk Radio International. If you're just overhearing the show and you want to be a part of it, just to ask a question or to make a comment, you can call in at 646-200-4309. That's 646-200-4309. Or you can connect with us via the web at blogtalkradio.com, Restoring the Daughters of Zion. We're also available via Skype. Just go to the Blog Talk webpage. You can also reach us via email. Our address is restoringthedaughtersofzion@gmail.com. That's restoring the daughters with an S of Zion @gmail.com. All right, we've got a great show planned for you. Last week we were talking about our role as women in the church. And we prepared to really delve into that, but we got kind of sidetracked by a topic. Oh my goodness. Right, Carol? We're still in the same territory, but a topic we thought to be more vital to our families as a whole. We have a clip we want to share with you that really brings so much information. And we want to get right into it, but first we want to go over some scriptures regarding, the temple and the things the Most High is interested in as far as our bodies are concerned. Really, really good stuff, though. So let me just get started so we can get the show going. This clip we want you to listen to is so excellent. But let me read this scripture. Psalms 24:1. The earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world and they that dwell therein. Therefore, we are stewards and not owners. I want to say that again. Stewards and not owners. Everything we have belongs to the Most High, and He has given us what we have only for a season. Sometimes when I think about that, that's a little scary. Only for a season. For however long He allows us to remain on this earth is the season. We are stewards over all we have, not owners. That includes our homes, our families, our children, money, jobs, and even our bodies, which, by the way, is the temple of the Most High. So very serious.
Amen. That is very serious. And I know that we meant to pray before we got started, but we're so excited about this program tonight that we just jumped right in. But I do want to bring another high praise to the Most High in reference to my granddaughter is still without a nebulizer, without a pump, with nothing.
Beautiful.
She's just going on. And then I have a second note. My husband, as I mentioned, our family is doing this as a group together. He has what do you call it, herniated disc.
Yeah.
That it's so bad that they had him on that crazy, oxy, whatever that is, and you can get addicted to that. So he wouldn't take it all the time. So he tried the water and the coconut oil and the salt, and he said to me that Tuesday last week was the very first day that he did not have back pain. And I was just floored because it's just amazing to see that these things are actually working. So it's just a word of encouragement for anyone out there that's experiencing asthma, back problems, high blood pressure, and things of that nature. We've got to find ways naturally to help ourselves because the medical profession is not trying to cure us. They're simply trying to medicate us.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I want to read the scriptures just according, following what you were talking about. 1 Corinthians 6:19-20 says, what know ye not, that your body is the temple of the Holy Ghost, or the Holy Spirit, which is in you, which ye have of God, and ye are not your own, for ye are bought with a price. Therefore glorify God in your body and in your spirit, which are God's. As stewards, we must be found faithful over the temple of the Most High. Let us pray.
Yes.
Thank you, Eternal Father. Thank you so much for another opportunity to reach out, to talk to our sisters, and for them to talk back with us. Father, we thank you so much for the fellowship, the camaraderie, and the information that we all find on our daily lives.
Yes.
We thank you, Father, that we have an opportunity to bring this information that is so necessary for the family. And we ask that it will fall on ears that will hear it and accept it, and that it will bring change according to your will in the name of Ahaya Bashem Yeshaya. Thank you. Come on.
Yes, amen. I'm so glad you brought that prayer out. I realized that we didn't pray before we got to the scriptures. I thought right afterwards, but, I'm glad you tag teaming me. It's so wonderful. Let me read 1 Corinthians 4:2, and it says, moreover, it is required in stewards that a man be found faithful. Now, so faithful, what does that mean? That means when you are involved in walking with the Most High, you want to make sure that he can depend upon you. What if the Most High is looking at us like he looked at Job? Have you considered my servant? I'll say Carol. Have you considered my servant Cherise? Have you considered my servant Danielle? Have you considered her? And if we, when I fall short, I always think that the Most High has me out there on display, and that's when I really start to hurt in my spirit because I let the Most High down. So am I found faithful? So it matters to the Father how we treat and watch over and care for the things we oversee. The elders are stewards over the preaching and the teaching of the flock. So the women,
absolutely.
Go ahead, Carol. Sorry.
No, you were talking, Titus is another scripture that we could look at.
Yeah.
And it says the older women are stewards. You're right about the women.
Mm-hmm.
Are stewards as well over the word in teaching the younger women.
Yes.
The word says, the aged women likewise, that they be in behavior as becometh holiness, not false accusers, not given to much wine, teachers of good things, that they may teach the young women to be sober, to love their husbands, to love their children, to be discreet, chaste, keepers at home, good, obedient to their own husbands. And this is very important in reference to what we're going to bring out tonight about us, because it is our responsibility to oversee that home and to protect our families.
Yeah, so why don't we just get right into it? We're going to play a clip for you, and it's a little lengthy, but we think it's really great. You're going to love it, and I think that this is going to change your life in what you're doing as far as your temple is concerned. And so let's get into it. Sister Cherie.
Okay, you know something, Cheryl? I just want to say one thing. We have to remember that as we listen to this, guard the temple of the Most High today, because there is a full court press against the temple, and the enemy is assaulting on all fronts. As a matter of fact, tonight's program will cover one of the most powerful weapons they're using. Yes, sisters. Yes. We have found the weapons of mass. Amen.
All right, let's go.
Get to it.
Okay, ready? Okay, ladies,
yes,
this is called Genetic Roulette, and it's about GMOs.
Hi, I'm Jeffrey Smith. Our Institute for Responsible Technology is happy to present this abridged version of Genetic Roulette, the Gamble of Our Lives. Those who have seen the full-length version have been awakened to the real dangers that GMOs present, and many have been inspired to take action. If you'd like to stay in touch with us, please subscribe to the newsletter Spilling the Beans. If you want to become a non-GMO advocate in your area, join our Tipping Point network, and please make a contribution so that we can continue to work to reclaim a healthier non-GMO food supply. What does IRT do? We reach millions of people. We created this film and the full-length version. We gave over 100 live presentations in 2012 and interviews to more than 165 press organizations. We produced numerous short videos and other educational materials. In 2013, we're going to help the 30 states that want ballot initiatives or labeling bills in their area, and we're working with other countries where we have a very big impact. Last year, for example, in Taiwan, when I testified there before the Congress, a senior congressional leader said, based on your information, we need to revamp all the laws in the country on GMOs because they're not sufficient to handle the risks. IRT's supporter base has always been individuals making contributions to help us do what we do. Please make a contribution today. Safe eating.
America. Bountiful. Innovative. Entrepreneurial, diverse, progressive. Sick? Americans get sick more often than Europeans and people in other industrialized countries, and they're getting sicker. Since the mid-90s, the number of Americans suffering from at least 3 chronic illnesses nearly doubled, and America's international ranking for infant mortality and lifespan also plunged. There are many reasons why this is taking place. One may be right in front of you.
Over the past 20 years, there's been an almost logarithmic increase in a whole series of chronic illnesses.
The things we're seeing today aren't normal. We didn't see them 30 years ago or 50 years ago.
Illnesses that weren't epidemic before are now epidemic. And at a scale it is just monumental.
People are getting sicker. What's changed? Well, one thing that's changed is the food. And the most radical change is the genetic engineering of our food supply.
We have gone from food in its whole food form to food undergoing a scientific experiment.
We have hundreds of millions of acres of genetically modified crops that have been planted in the United States, and yet most people are not aware.
Obama's USDA has owned by the biotech just as much as every previous administration. And if we don't do anything, like within a decade, every single major crop with any significant market size is going to be genetically modified, and we're not going to know it.
GMO, genetically modified organisms. They take genes from one species and force it into the DNA of other species. And they can mix and match between species that have never normally made it. So they have spider genes that they put into goats in the hopes that they can milk the goat to get spiderweb protein to make bulletproof vests. I'm not making this up. They've taken cow genes and put them into pigs so that the pigs have cowhides. They've taken human genes and put it into corn to make spermicides. And for the food we eat, there's two main categories. The herbicide-tolerant crops, they can spray them with herbicide and not kill them, or the pesticide-producing crops that produce their own toxic insecticides that if a bug bites those plants, it breaks open the stomach and kills them. So they're completely swapping genes between the normal species barriers, creating new organisms that were not part of the evolutionary process.
The general public has the impression that genetic engineering is somehow a precise science. More accurately, it's submicroscopic shooting from the hip.
The very process of genetic engineering creates unpredicted side effects. You take a gene and make millions of copies, and they put them in a gun, literally, and then shoot that gun into a plate of millions of cells. And then you clone those cells into a plant.
Typically what they will put onto that is a virus or a part of a virus in order to turn that gene on.
Now the process of insertion plus cloning creates massive collateral damage. There can be hundreds or thousands of mutations up and down the DNA, and hundreds or thousands of genes can change their levels of expression in the naturally functioning plant. This creates unpredicted side effects.
From a biophysics perspective, when we look at the signature now of that entire gene sequence, it's foreign. It does not exist anywhere in nature. And therefore our immune system, which is truly a grand electromagnetic sensor system, looks at that material, that gene sequence that is supposed to be food, whether it's soy or corn or whatever it might be, looks at that and says, I've never seen that sequence ever. It doesn't exist in nature. It's foreign. It attacks. It creates an inflammatory reaction and attacks that sequence.
Many of the diseases that we deal with, in fact, most of the diseases that we deal with have as a source inflammation. Many of them, the source is inflammation in the gut, which is, of course, the first interface between the body and any kind of food, including GMO foods.
In 1996, genetically engineered soy and corn were introduced into the American diet. Since then, numerous digestive disorders related to gut inflammation have been on the rise in the U.S. population. Is this just a coincidence? But inflammation creates additional serious disorders unrelated to digestion.
So I think we should probably look at allergies. I'm sure we should look at autoimmune diseases and, basically anything that's related to inflammation. Heart disease, kidney disease, diabetes, it doesn't stop. Thyroid disease.
The current FDA policy on GMOs, created in 1992, says that the agency is not aware of any information showing that GMOs are significantly different. Therefore, no safety studies are necessary. It turns out that in 1998, a lawsuit forced 44,000 secret internal memos into the public domain, and they showed a different story.
As I combed through those 44,000 pages of memoranda and other documents, I was shocked because it became clear that the FDA had been lying repeatedly since 1992, because they claimed that there was an overwhelming consensus within the scientific community that these foods are safe. But the overwhelming consensus within their own scientific staff was exactly opposite. These foods could not be presumed safe.
They urged their superiors to require long-term studies, but were ignored. Why? The person in charge of policy at the FDA was Michael Taylor, Monsanto's former attorney, later Monsanto's vice president, now back at the FDA as U.S. Food Safety Czar.
What Monsanto and the biotech industry wanted from the FDA was a policy that created the illusion that genetically engineered foods are being diligently regulated, but that in fact imposed no burdens at all, that in fact had zero regulation. And the FDA has pulled that off masterfully.
So the same company, Monsanto, that told us that PCBs, Agent Orange, and DDT were safe, and lied, can tell us if GMOs are safe. In fact, they don't even have to tell us. They can put it on the market without telling the FDA or to consumers.
The FDA, the USDA, and the EPA are all responsible for different aspects of our food production, and they're signing off on this in a way that is, it's beyond outrageous.
They've appointed known advocates of GMO food to positions like Secretary of Agriculture, Food Czar, important positions in which independent decision-making should be done, and appointing people that work for the main offender on this to those positions is insane.
I think this is the most alarming thing that I have seen in Washington, that we would clear new, unique products for human consumption without careful, independent testing of these products. I can only think that money is the reason.
The American Academy of Environmental Medicine took a very strong position against GMO because such research as has been done is very, very disturbing.
The American Academy cited animal studies showing infertility, immune problems, accelerated aging, complications with cholesterol and insulin, and changes in the liver, kidney, spleen, and gastrointestinal system.
The biotech companies do their own research. I call it tobacco science. They use the wrong control group, the wrong detection method, the wrong statistics, and their feeding trials are so short they could never identify things like cancer or reproductive disorders or birth defects. They've got bad science down to a science.
No one has the right to play dice, to play roulette with the entire genetic integrity of life on the planet.
There's a soil bacterium called Bacillus thuringiensis, or BT. And if you take that bacteria and gather it up and use it as spray, the BT toxin produced by the bacteria will kill insects. So engineers take the gene that produces the toxin and insert it into corn and cotton and allow the plants to do the killing.
Every single cell within that plant is producing a toxic protein.
BT is designed to break open the stomach of insects and kill them. So when the doctors hear about this, that BT corn was introduced into our diet in the mid-90s, they say this may explain the increase in gastrointestinal problems that they're seeing in their practice. But the EPA says, don't worry about BT toxin. It's completely harmless to human beings and animals because it only affects insects. However, a study that came out in February 2012 showed that the EPA got it wrong. It does break open little pores in human cells, and it might cause the same kind of disruption in our guts as it's causing in the insects that it kills.
If Bacillus thuringiensis is causing an increased propensity for our intestine to become permeable or leaky and for foods to be presented to our bloodstream in a premature fashion, the havoc that it will cause will be across the entire spectrum of disease, from premature aging and Alzheimer's to Parkinson's to autism to cancer to asthma. There is no part of the spectrum because we start the same as if you buy a brand new car and it says on that it's meant to run on gas and you go put diesel in it, you could expect it won't go very far. So when you put the wrong fuel into your body, and by making your intestine leaky, we are permitting building blocks to go into our body that are the wrong fuel.
There's only been one human feeding study on genetically modified foods. And they found that part of the gene inserted into soybeans that make the soybeans Roundup ready transferred into the DNA of bacteria living inside our intestines and stayed there. Furthermore, that bacteria was not killable with Roundup, suggesting that the gene remained active. This means long after we stop eating genetically modified foods, we may still have these genetically modified proteins produced continuously inside of us. They never check to see if the Bt toxin gene transferred from, say, corn chips into our gut bacteria and continued to function. If it does, it might turn our intestinal flora into living pesticide factories. This might explain why 93% of pregnant women tested in Canada had the Bt toxin in their blood, as well as in the blood of 80% of their unborn fetuses. The authors of the study suggested that the Bt toxin came as a result of eating the milk and meat of animals that ate Monsanto's Bt corn. But I think a more plausible explanation is that the Bt toxin was produced continuously inside their own digestive tract.
What's happening in the research article that I'm reading is that a lot of the conditions that seem to be on the rise are connected to intestinal permeability. To me, I think that this is actually one of the important parts of why GMOs might be harmful.
One of the things that really I see a lot in children now is that kids come in with leaky guts. They're usually in an intestine, there should be tight junctions in the intestine. But these kids are coming in, their guts are not creating these tight junctions. The food they're eating is leaking into their bloodstream. They're creating an antibody response to those foods, and so they're coming in with food intolerance and food allergies.
Once intestinal permeability rises, then it's possible for larger bits of food to go through, bits that really should have been digested fully before getting assimilated. Once these go into the bloodstream, the body develops a reaction to them, and this reaction is an allergic reaction.
I have a son who has severe food allergies, and he got the food allergies back in 2009, August 25th, 2009 to be exact, and I have literally, from that day forward, have been on a mission trying to figure out how did my son get these food allergies. I found out that our food supply is genetically modified, and guess what? The food that my son ate on August 25th, 2009 was raw corn, the corn that almost killed him. All I could hear him go is, and like itching. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And he had turned red. He couldn't breathe properly. I was in panic. I called 911. I was just like, I think my son's having a food allergy attack.
Okay.
And I immediately took him to the doctors, and I got all these tests done, and sure enough, he's deadly allergic to corn now.
25, 30, 35 years ago, no one was allergic to anything. And now you have allergies. I have people with black pepper that couldn't have black pepper today. There's, celiacs that have wheat, gluten allergies, people that have allergies to, of course, the basics like dairy and seafood, but everything. I have people that are allergic to parsley and just regular natural chlorophyll plants.
We're talking about food. Foods become harmful. How did that happen? So when you link it to the GMO issue, it resonates like you would not believe.
Patients with allergies, I try to keep them away from GMO food because they'll react to them, and they'll tell you that.
It's my fourth child who has food allergies. We have no family history of this. I knew that I had taken care of myself through every pregnancy the exact same way. And as friends kept saying, what did you do differently? What did you do differently? I had no answer. And suddenly, in learning of this relationship between GMOs and food allergies, I finally had my answer. And in learning about genetically modified foods, I was also able to do something about it. And literally within a 24-hour period, we cleaned out the entire kitchen. There were the items that we had been feeding our children for the last 6 years, we just literally threw into the trash. And so at first, where I was excited and I was relieved at having discovered all of this, I then went through a really hard stage where I just cried because I thought, what have I done to my children, and what has been done to them without my consent?
And I have kids who are allergic to every food fruit. How is that possible? And not just a few of them, quite a few of them. Almost impossible to manage. Moms are coming and saying, what do I feed my kids?
I have seen firsthand exponential growth in allergies. And yet, when I improve the quality of my patient's diet, meaning prescribing a non-GMO diet, prescribing organic food, their symptoms go away. In most of my patients, because they have some sort of immune or inflammatory response to the GMO foods, I have to take them off of the non-GMO foods that are related. So I have to take them off of all corn. I have to take them off of all grains, because my experience is that once the immune system has been inspired to have a response, that they react, to GMO and non-GMO. So I had a healthy patient come in, 30-year-old woman, who told me now when she eats any food, her skin literally overheats. Literally anything that she's eating is causing a problem in her skin. And she says to me, what could this be? Well, what we do is we take her off of all of the food that she's eating, and she starts back adding in highest quality organic foods in their base form, right? As she's doing that, she suddenly is getting better. We might have to use enzymes or other things to help her, but if she starts to get better, guess what? When we add back in corn or soy, she can consume it if it's not genetically modified.
I'm concerned about all the health issues that I'm seeing, but the one that I am most alarmed about is autistic spectrum, which is literally skyrocketed.
I had a doctor that has spent his entire career working with autistic children. He came up and asked me a few questions. When I reported exactly what we were seeing symptom-wise, behavioral-wise, with the rats and with the pigs and with the cattle that are being fed GMO versus non-GMO, he said that's exactly what we're finding in our autistic children.
Our son is 9.5, and he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder about 6 years ago. And we've used many interventions in his therapy, but about 2 years ago we learned about GMO foods and the potential harm of this kind of food in ourselves and in our son. And particularly in the last 2 years we've seen some nice improvements in combination with other things, but keep cleaning up his diet with non-GMO foods has been a big success for us.
I just always felt there had to be a connection to autism and all the gut-related problems that our kids have. My son in particular always had GI problems, fungal infections and parasites, bacteria, viruses in his GI tract that we had been treating over the years. But until we took GMO completely out of his diet, did I see the biggest change in him, behaviorally especially.
My son is 10 years old now. He's autistic, and about 5 years ago we learned at an autism conference about GMOs, and we just decided immediately that that was one of the things we were going to have to change about his diet. And when we did, the change was quite profound. He had a lot of gut issues, as do most children with autism, and we noticed immediately a relief in the symptoms. The bloating and the horrible bowel movements seemed to subside substantially, and now his gut is like a neurotypical kid. It's really amazing. And we haven't done much to his gut other than get him on an organic diet and get him away from the GMOs.
The vast majority of genetically modified crops are engineered to make it easier for farmers to kill weeds. For example, Monsanto's Roundup Ready crops, which comprise most of today's GMOs, can survive applications of Monsanto's best-selling weed killer, Roundup.
The active ingredient of Roundup is called glyphosate, and it was patented as an herbicide by Monsanto in 1974. But 10 years earlier, it was patented as a broad-spectrum chelator. Now, chelation is a molecular level of hugging and not letting go. The way that it kills weeds is it makes the nutrients unavailable to the plant, so it weakens the defenses of the plant. Then it promotes the diseases in the soil, which end up killing the plant. Now, this means that plants treated with Roundup have a reduction in available nutrients. They're weak and they're sick. The animals that eat the nutrient-deficient plants, they become nutrient-deficient and weak and sick. Then we eat the animals and the plants that are nutrient-deficient, and we may become weak and sick. In addition, the residues of the Roundup in the plant can end up in our bodies where they can chelate, hug some of the nutrients that are in our bodies, making them less available as well.
In areas, very often right to the row specifically where the glyphosate was applied, those plants are getting sicker earlier. Tissue tests are documenting deficiencies in manganese, copper, and zinc. As a result, the food is less nutritious. It's showing up in the animals, and glyphosate use is doing it, and it's following and working its way right up the food chain.
Those deficiencies are very well documented as being factors in animal diseases as well as in human diseases.
The glyphosate problem has a number of issues for us, and one of the very sad side effects of glyphosate are birth defects. In the towns where people were workers on the farm, particularly the soybean farms, we had as much as 70 times increase in the number of birth defects in these sprayed areas.
Lab animals fed Roundup Ready soy have had serious reproductive disorders. In mice, the testicles changed, including damage to the young sperm cells. In rats, there were changes in the uterus and ovaries. The DNA functioned differently in the embryo offspring of mice. When female rats were fed genetically modified soy, more than half of their babies died within 3 weeks. The babies were also smaller and could not reproduce. When mice were fed genetically modified Roundup Ready and BT corn, they had fewer babies and smaller babies. Preliminary evidence that's not yet published can be even worse. In rats, the testicles changed from pink to blue. In hamsters, by the third generation, most lost the ability to have babies. Some had hair growing in their mouths. There's a virtual epidemic of reproductive disorders in the livestock in the U.S. Some veterinarians and scientists started examining the aborted fetal tissue of livestock that had miscarriages. And they found an organism that was new to science.
We're still not quite sure what it is. We have the DNA now that's in the process of being analyzed. So it's a very small entity, but it can cause reproductive failure.
This new organism is in high concentrations of soy and corn products that have been sprayed with Roundup.
Had a producer northwest of the Twin Cities last year that called me and was losing calves to miscarriages, and some cows were dying. He was feeding his cows Roundup Ready corn silage sprayed with Roundup. We had liver samples that were sent to a university and found they were all short on manganese, and we had feed samples sent out to a third party to get us into the testing lab for that organism, and it was loaded with the organism.
Secretary Vilsack, as governor of Iowa years earlier, was awarded Biotech Governor of the Year. He's now in charge of agriculture in the United States. Dr. Don Huber sent a letter to Secretary Vilsack describing this organism and describing it as an emergency.
I felt that it would be irresponsible for me as a scientist not to alert the Secretary of Agriculture to the serious nature of the situation as it was developing.
Dr. Huber wrote, "For the past 40 years, I have been a scientist in the professional and military agencies that evaluate and prepare for natural and man-made biological threats, including germ warfare and disease outbreaks. Based on this experience, I believe the threat we are facing from this pathogen is unique and of a high-risk status. In layman's terms, it should be treated as an emergency."
He asked the Secretary to hold off on the approval of Roundup Ready alfalfa, because that would increase the use of Roundup in the United States, and if Roundup were linked to this organism, it would pour fuel onto this fire. A few weeks after the letter was received, Huber got a call from the USDA, and he gave them the names of some scientists and veterinarians to talk to. 6 months later, they still hadn't been contacted. Unfortunately, the USDA is completely ignoring the problems with Roundup. They just approved Roundup Ready alfalfa in 2011, as well as Roundup Ready Kentucky bluegrass.
You're listening to the Daughters of Science.
I've been writing a syndicated newspaper column called Animal Doctor for about 40 years. And it was in the late 1990s that I started receiving letters from several of my 25 to 30 million readers across the United States indicating that their dogs and cats were having various health problems. And when I advised them to switch the animal's diet to get rid of genetically engineered corn and soybean, and the animals started getting better, I have what I call evidence-based medicine that their health problems were most likely primarily being caused by genetically engineered corn and soybean and possibly the Roundup herbicide glyphosate residue.
I've got my first major livestock producer that feeds about 5,000 head of cattle. He just made a transition here within the last year in my community.
A lot of trouble with cattle dying the longer you fed them genetically modified crop. The longer we'd feed them, the more deaths we would have. We wouldn't lose cattle the first 60 to 80 days on feed, and from then on we would start losing them 1 or 2 a week. And when we switched, the cattle have been a lot calmer, and we've had a lot less pneumonia and health issues since that time.
A pig farmer in Denmark switched to non-GMO soy in April 2011. Within 2 days, the piglet's serious and sometimes fatal diarrhea virtually disappeared. After switching, disease rates plummeted. Death from ulcers and stomach-related sicknesses disappeared, as did a string of horrible birth defects. Conception rates and litter size also increased. A farmer in South Africa was growing genetically engineered corn and feeding it to his animals. His dairy cows were having problems with milk production, arthritic-type conditions, infertility, and short lifespans. The pigs were also affected. In South Africa, corn is the staple, eaten 3 times a day. The 50 to 60 workers on this farm were eating only the GM corn grown there. They were likely eating more genetically engineered food each day than any group in the world.
The health issues that he was running into was things like upper respiratory, colds, runny noses, just an achy feeling similar to like having the flu, and headaches, severe headaches. About once or twice a month he'd have one of his laborers come to him, and these were not older people, these were younger people in their mid-20s through mid-40s. And he'd notice one very dramatic thing. He'd see the individual and they'd be talking and looking at each other in the eye, and one eye would go this way, and at the same time the other eye would go this way, so it didn't track, like turning one way or the other. Now when he noticed that, or that occurred, normally that person would be dead within 24 to 48 hours after seeing that particular symptom.
When the farmer harvested non-GMO corn for his animals, the workers also switched to non-GMO corn.
His labor force had cleared up completely of the health issues they were having while they were on the non-GMO.
And then he ran out.
It took about 30 to 40 days and they were right back in the same predicament as before. Since then I've heard from him a time or two, and he says now he has all non-GMO, and thanked me for the advice of never planting another GMO.
Children are particularly more sensitive to GMOs for several reasons than adults. Number one is they have higher metabolic rates. They eat more. And number two is that children are more sensitive to smaller doses of toxins than adults. We don't respond to toxins the same way.
Their immune system is not prepared for it. They're not able to digest properly. They don't have the enzymes available to them. They don't have their gut bacteria completely developed yet.
I tell all of my pregnant women how to serve their children non-GMO food.
We have them eat non-GMO food for at least 2 weeks. At least 2 weeks before trying to conceive, preferably longer, because we know that if
if mom doesn't, that any gene changes that can be passed on to the baby can be passed on to future generations, and it's a new field of genetics called epigenetics.
If the mother eats the genetically engineered foods, it is going to affect the development and the growth of her child. It's one more factor to throw into the uterine fluid that is not good, and it will cause disaster in time.
I think that pretty much most all soy infant formulas are made from genetically modified soy, which means that's a serious health hazard. The risk of allergic reactions is much too great to be feeding that to infants, especially at an early age.
Nearly all infant formulas use milk from cows injected with bovine growth hormone and derivatives of GM corn. And independent laboratory tests found significant amounts of genetically engineered soy in 4 popular soy-based infant formulas. Similac soy, 42%. Gerber Good Start soy, 48%. Enfamil Pro Soybe, 49%. Walmart soy, 66%. The U.S. government's WIC program provides free formula to over 2 million newborns, but only the genetically engineered varieties.
When I first discovered that GMO was in infant formula and infant food, I was outraged, honestly. I didn't know how that could have happened in this country, and I felt guilty as a mother for not knowing that it was in there and I was feeding something harmful to my child. But once I learned it was in there, it was cold turkey, just everything got thrown out, and we started from scratch.
They're really vulnerable, and we're giving their parents, before they're born, feeding them GMOs. And we know that things can get into the fetus, like Bt toxin and Roundup. And then we're feeding them infant formula with genetically engineered corn and soy, and the milk from cows injected with bovine growth hormone. What are we doing to our children?
We're just being told it's probably the best technology out there to feed the world, and that's not even true. So I'm not even sure why we have to have GMO. Doesn't make any sense. Genetically engineered organisms are really a product to sell people. And unless there's a company trying to push a product like that and gain money, there's no point in it, because all of us can get along just fine without genetically engineered organisms. There's always a better way to achieve the same end that any genetically engineered organism is trying to do for you. There's a better way when we understand how nature does it. It's less expensive, it doesn't take so much work, and you're not destroying the environment at the same time.
I would say that we've had a huge lie perpetuated upon us by the multinational corporations, making us believe that the GMO is the way to feed the future. It is not.
We planted GMOs, Roundup Ready cotton, in 2005, 2006, about 1,000 acres. Thought it was going to be an excellent way to remedy our high fuel costs, labor. That was before I started reading the bag on the cotton seed. There's all 7, 8 different warning labels. Don't touch it, don't put it in your mouth, don't do this, run to the doctor, call this number. And I'm sitting there thinking, what am I planting? What am I actually putting in the earth? I'm trying to save a little bit of fuel. I was adding to the problem. I was adding to the toxic recipe that is creating the need for more chemicals. I mean, that's the solution that we're throwing at all of our problems in agriculture, and we wonder why we have more problems.
The mythology that somehow the people of the world are starving because there's not enough food is very strong and has been drummed into us for 30 years now, or 40 years. In fact, there's over 1.5 times more food on the planet than we need for every man, woman, and child. Even Joseph Sheehan of the World Food Program admitted at the height of the food crisis that the problem wasn't lack of food. There's plenty of food. People couldn't afford it.
The evidence that does not exist to support the claim that GMOs are going to be the way forward to feed the world in a way that's sustainable and equitable in the future.
There's a lot of GMO myths about what GMOs are supposed to do or can do. They're supposed to increase yields. Well, in actuality, they reduce average yield. Look at the Union of Concerned Scientists report, Failure to Yield. There have been studies done on millions of farms in developing nations showing an average increase of yield of 79% for sustainable techniques, not for GMOs. In the United States, GMOs grown side by side with organic show no difference for soy and corn, except in times of drought where the organic outperforms the GMOs. They also say that GMOs are supposed to increase farmer profit. Well, that's not true.
Essentially all of the independent studies, and by that I mean a study not paid for directly or indirectly by the biotech industry, all independent studies conclude that GM technology has been close to an economic wash.
They said GMOs would increase U.S. exports. The opposite happened. We lost 99% of our corn exports to Europe.
The biotech industry has claimed for years that herbicide-tolerant crops reduce the pounds of herbicides applied. And while that's true for the first few years after a new herbicide-tolerant crop variety is introduced, after a few years there's shifts in weeds and the beginning of resistance emerges, and we see a steady incremental rise in herbicide use.
A study found that 323 million more pounds of pesticides have been applied on genetically engineered crops compared to their non-engineered counterparts in the U.S. We've got 10,000 acres of cotton in Georgia that are now resistant to all herbicides, including glyphosate. So guess how they're controlling them? They're having to use machetes. Glyphosate's no longer working, so now they want to get crops that are engineered with 2,4-D. For those of you that are too young to know that, that was one of the components of Agent Orange, so that's not a benign herbicide.
There is so much increase in the use of Roundup, it's now found by the U.S. Geological Survey in 60 to 100% of the air samples, the rain samples, and the water samples. It's in the urine of city dwellers. It's in the blood of pregnant women. It's in their fetuses. It's everywhere.
It's not about feeding the world. It's not about the blind will see and the lame shall walk. It's about chemical companies selling chemicals.
When I heard the Monsanto master plan, I was stunned. The goal of Monsanto was to replace all natural seed, to have all global agriculture completely driven by genetically modified seed, and to create a market for the chemicals associated with those genetically modified seed. There was no sense of nature. There was discussion of how to eliminate natural seed.
When I get in discussions with people, they say, well, the government reviewed them, the government's approved them, there were mountains of studies done. They couldn't have gotten it that wrong, and if it was so bad, somebody would speak up about it. But in reality, the few people that have spoken up about it have paid a high personal and professional price for it. The attacks on people who have raised questions about this technology are very well covered. They're no secret, and they've had a very chilling effect on the willingness of other scientists to even want to carry out the work. One way to discourage scientists from working in an area is to show them that if they happen to come up with findings that don't jive with the PR message from the biotech industry, and if they were to go on and publish their results or talk about them at a professional meeting, that their dean is going to be visited by a contingent from the companies. Politicians at the state level will be visited and said, gee, you know what's going on in the agronomy department at the university? There's this professor, he's out to hurt your farmers. You better call the dean up and get that person back on message. And this happens absolutely routinely.
And quite frankly, because of the direct investments of these companies in our universities, new professors know very well that if you expect to get tenure, don't do any negative research on GMOs.
When I spoke to the United Nations about the dangers of genetically engineered organisms, and then I returned to my department at Oregon State University, I soon afterwards received a letter from a past president of Oregon State University basically saying that if you didn't believe in the technology, if you weren't heart and soul into this industry, this technology, that you really didn't belong at Oregon State University.
It's just remarkable the degree to which a single company has been able to dominate what gets discussed, how it's discussed, and who is willing to participate in that debate.
Researchers have a hard time getting a hold of seeds in order to carry out research because Monsanto, Syngenta, and DuPont will not give the seeds away for research. They keep the seeds, they do their own research, which supports their own industrial objectives. So it's very difficult to do research, and then once it's done, it's very hard to get out there.
Many researchers that are involved in working on GMO crops are severely penalized. They've lost their jobs, they've had their funding canceled, been moved out of their laboratories.
As soon as you go up against these multinational corporations, they try to shred your reputation. They try to suggest that your methodology is inappropriate, it's not right.
Ultimately, the buck stops at the scientists evaluating. That's me. And if I agree, then I'm part of the corruption. That's happening. If I don't agree, I get fired. I chose to be fired.
Dr. Arpad Pustai, one of the leading researchers in the world in his field, was given a grant of $3 million to figure out how to test for the safety of GMOs. His research was supposed to create the protocols that would be used for approvals in the EU. He put rats through his protocols, and it turns out the process of genetic engineering was inherently unsafe and caused potentially precancerous cell growth in the digestive tracts, smaller brains, livers, and testicles, partial atrophy of the liver, damaged immune system in just 10 days. When he went public with his concerns, he was a hero for about 2 days at his prestigious institute. Then 2 phone calls were allegedly placed from the UK Prime Minister's office, forwarded through the receptionist to the director. The next morning, Dr. Pustai was fired from his job after 35 years, silenced with threats of a lawsuit. His 20-member research team was disbanded. They took away the data. They never implemented his protocols. Instead, they embarked on a campaign to destroy his reputation. In Argentina, when the scientist Andres Carrasco was planning to give a lecture to a group about Roundup and its link to birth defects, an organized mob of about 100 attacked him. He was able to make it into his car where he locked himself in, but they beat his car for 2 hours. His friends were not so lucky. One was knocked unconscious, the other paralyzed.
Okay. Shalom, everybody. Shalom again. How's everyone again tonight? That was quite a clip. It was a little bit time, took a little time, but, I think it was really great. And so, Sister Shamee, I want you guys to call in now and talk to us. Let's talk about what we just heard. There's so much information there. And I'm sure that, some of you may have questions and some of you may have comments and information that you can add to it. We want to go to break, take a commercial break, but let me read a scripture. And it's 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do all to the glory of the Most High. Okay, so let's take a break now, and callers, we're waiting to hear from you. You're listening to Restoring the Daughters of Zion. Coming to you live.
We're bringing the treasures of the earth
to the people of the world.
Amenez les trésors de la terre au peuple du monde.
This is
coffee ni nzuri sana, kwa hivyo tunatakikana kukunywa, alafu tunasaidia dunia yote, trayendo los tesoros de la tierra a la gente del mundo.
Whether it's latte, mocha, the king of coffee, or our delicious teas, you'll soon see what all the buzz is about in more than 30 countries worldwide. Organo Gold gives you 200 nutrients in every cup. It's silky smooth and delicious, without the jitters. Drink the healthier coffee. Visit our site today at oneincreasecoffee.organogold.com. That's the number 1, increasecoffee.organogold.com. Kwam Yasharala.
Been hidden for way too long. They don't want to tell us the truth. We are the children of Israel, Most High's chosen few. Been hidden for way too long. They don't want to tell us the truth. We are the children of Israel, Most High's chosen few. So much deception, manipulation, supernatural strategies, and they're targeting you and me.
All praises to a higher through your Shire. This one is for Israel.
If we've been sold as blonde hair and blue eyes, why is it so hard to believe the Messiah looks like you and I, huh? Thick nose, hair wool, skin kissed by the sun, lips full, yeah, it's all bull. Lies upon lies upon lies is what they stack. They piled it on thick. Now look at how we act, man. Trying to get the fans to understand and see the facts. Why is it that everything that's bad equals black? The prophets were exact. Yeshua's coming back. Satan's on a rampage, yet we remain slack. Steady blending in and covering his tracks. Weaving in apostasy, we can't have that, no.
Scattered amongst the nations and kingdoms, cause we were disobedient people to the Most High. I thank the Most High, cause he sent his son to die. They tried to keep us in bondage, gotta put away the false gods among us. Thou shalt worship the Lord thy God, and the Lord thy God is one God. The God of Abraham and Isaac, the God of Jacob, my highness. No longer struggling with blindness, so Satan get thee behind us. Spiritual implications behind that day that they made that slave trade. Just like Hurricane Katrina, it was saved till FEMA sent aid. I prayed for the truth, God showed me the truth, no matter what the devil gon' do. I ain't tripping on that, I know who I am, I know I'm the chosen few. Hidden for way too long.
They don't want to tell us the truth.
They don't want to tell us the truth.
We are the children of Israel, God's chosen few.
Most High chosen
Been
few.
hidden for way too long.
Hidden for way too long.
They don't want to tell us the truth.
Nah.
No, they don't want to tell us the truth. We're God's chosen few.
All praises to the Lion of the tribe of Judah, Christ.
All right, we're back. Shalom. Shalom, everyone. Welcome back to Restoring the Daughters of Zion. We hope you enjoyed that clip, and we hope you enjoyed that wonderful song that was just donated to us for the show. All right, Sister Cherie, can you bring in, let's get the callers in. Let's hear what everybody has to say.
Sure, we have Sister Simona. Sister Simona.
Shalom, sister.
Shalom. Shalom, Sister. This is Simona.
How you doing?
I'm alive.
All praises to the Most High. It sure beats the
yeah.
alternative.
Yeah, that does keep the alternative all right. Kind of overwhelming and annoying at the same time. Not to say anything against you guys, but, you know, it's not very promising, I'll say. In retrospect to what you had put on for us to listen, I got an email that's quite disturbing. It says the title, Check Your Food Labels. And I happen to forward it to the other sisters that I communicate with, like Paula and Sister Yale. I'm just going to briefly go into it because I know I don't have all that time speaking. I'm a blabbermouth, so I want to avoid that. It says, don't forget that Smithfield Farms, the largest pork-producing farm in the USA, was sold in September to China. Now listen to this. With the anonymous support of its stockholders. The hogs are still be raised here, but slaughtered and packaged for sale here before being sent back here. This includes the labels of Morale, Average, Carcass, Four de Lait, Premium Ham, Cook, and Goldney. The same with many chickens.
Now, you said what was being sold to China? What kind of meat was that?
Pork.
Okay, we're not worried about pork. Okay, okay.
Okay.
I get that.
Okay, yeah, and the same with many chickens. Now, if you're going to eat some chicken, watch out for this. They can now be shipped there, but when they come back, all that needs to be labeled is that they were raised in the USA. Trying to deceive us, you know. Remember the time when it was that breakout disease in the chicken when the China had the mask on and they had to throw about 1 million chickens away because they were contaminated? Now that they were processed in China, our great FDA at work again. The chickens will be all processed and most sold to fast foods chicken. Oh, no, I'm not going to Mickey D's no more and get any chicken.
Right. Well, you know, there are programs that show, like that, the program called Food Inc., I think it's Food Inc., and it shows that that's not even chicken, really. It's all kinds of fillers that they're putting in there. You wouldn't want to eat that. You wouldn't. But I just want to comment about something you said about them moving their place over to China. A lot of companies, if you look on the web for mergers and acquisitions and things of that nature, a lot of companies are moving their headquarters out of the United States. And they may keep parts of their plants here, but they're claiming to be companies that they're, you know, if the headquarters there, they don't pay the taxes, or a lot of the things that they don't have to deal with. I won't say that the FDA's stringent policies are stopping them, because we're not stopping anything. As a matter of fact, Europe, most of the European nations, they label their food GMO products, but the United States will not do that.
Yeah, a lot.
There was something in the video that I heard, and it said that we thought that our exports would increase because we had all of the GMO products, but because Europe labels their products GMO, our corn can't make it over there because people won't buy it.
Yeah, it's so serious.
I thought that was interesting, yeah.
Wait a minute. You mean they won't buy it over there? They think it's contaminated or something?
They can send anything here because we're taking it. The FDA
but
will
I'm
not.
Saying why can't we, if we export it? If we import the goods coming from other countries, why can't we export what we give to them? See,
they don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want it. They realize how dangerous it is.
Yeah, you can only
It's banned in a lot of countries. I'm sorry.
They have to have a market. If there's no market, no one's going to buy it. They're exporting it for nothing. And since we have all this,
exporting it for nothing here. A lot of us need a diet. There's two obese people here.
Yeah.
And these stop going to Mickey D's and Burger King eating all that crazy bad food. It's bad for you.
Sister, the tricky thing about it is that it's not just the meat and the Mickey D's. It's everything almost. When you look on your labels and you see that there's corn oil in it, there's the fish
soybean,
the fish that are farm raised. Try to get fish that's wild caught, because the farm raised, they're feeding the fish this Monsanto corn. And if you guys listened and didn't miss it because there was so much that they were, throwing at us out there, the corn is an insecticide within itself. And it actually bursts the insect's stomach open when they eat it. So you go out and you get your corn muffins, or you just bring home a box of cornmeal and make yourself something. You think you're getting something wholesome, but you've got to move up a notch and get organic. You've got to get away from the GMOs. You've got to look for what's not genetically modified. Otherwise, we are still poisoning our family. And that's why we were bringing this out today, to show that as stewards of our home, we need to feed healthy products to our children in our home. Carol, you're trying to say something. Go ahead.
Oh no, I wasn't. Continue, please.
Yeah, and so when we have these foods that we're getting off the shelf in the store, we need to start rethinking that. I mean, ever since I watched the video, and I watched it several times because I didn't want to miss anything that it had to offer, I almost can't eat out anymore. And this is what we really have to kind of come to the conclusion, because between them cooking our foods in bad oil, everything is all grease. And then, we should be using coconut oil. All right. And then go ahead, palm kernel oil you can use.
Even butter if it's organic.
But you see, the thing is, we do try to stay away from dairy, but it's certainly much better than eating this stuff that's a cut above plastic. And so here we have the baby formulas. I was so annoyed when I heard him say that Walmart GMOs are the soy and the that's in the baby formula.
Highest percentage.
The highest, for something like 66%. And we're wondering why our babies are autistic and why they're sick and what have you, and our, these funny cancers and all this stuff that's going around. We really got to get on board and start in our own homes. And like some of the callers called in and said, they just literally threw out the food that was in their house, because if you think about it, what we've got to think about now is, what can we eat? How can we get away from these GMOs? If you're going to have some meat, you got to get organic. You got to get non-GMO products. And later on in the show, I'll give a list of names of products that you can, the makers, that you can buy non-GMO foods.
Oh, and I just also wanted to add, in addition, I can't believe it, this is what they're saying, we recently learned that Star-Kissed tuna is now owned by Korea, and it's the big conflict with the U.S. concerning quality, safety, and records which Korea refuses to produce.
Wow.
Now, you got to read several articles on Google about this, and even more that was defending the eating of, what's that pronunciation of the fish? Tilapia said to avoid
tilapia.
Oh, okay, tilapia said to avoid the fish that came from China. I can't buy that no more. Also, I have to just return home from buying Albertson's 4-day special, 4 bags of frozen tilapia for the price of one. And so, yeah, you just got to check on Google.
Yeah, and something else you have to be careful of is that sometimes, because they know you're looking for things like wild caught, they'll name the product, they'll name the company Wild Caught, and you'll think, oh, yeah, Wild Caught, grab it and throw it in your cart. And before you know it, you get home and it says farm raised. And that is not out in the wild. They were showing on one of the things I was looking at that the salmon that they've genetically modified, because they're trying to see if they can raise salmon in the farms, also the same way they do a tilapia. And these salmon, the salmon grows 3 times the size, as big, faster than the other salmon. But they noticed that if the salmon doesn't get food, he will attack and fight the other fish. Now, salmon don't do that, but they're afraid that if he gets out into the ocean, then what we're going to see is salmon attacking. And it's just crazy, the things that they're thinking of. But the Word of God says man is an inventor of evil things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it's the high level of demonic spirits going to any kind of things right now. Who knows?
Absolutely. And I think this Monsanto... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
No.
This Monsanto stuff is at the height of demonic, possession. And what really made me annoyed is how the attorney for Monsanto is the food czar at the FDA. I mean, how do we even stand a chance? We got the Fox Garden.
My understanding is that we have one on the high Supreme Court that was like the CEO or chairman of Monsanto, something on that order. So there's something else I wanted to say was he brought out that the hamsters after 3 generations were infertile. Now that's very scary because we could have taken a poison pill that in 3 generations we won't even be able to produce. There was a movie before, either Children of God or something, I don't remember the name of it, but that's what had happened. Man was no longer able to produce children anymore. And there was one lady that was pregnant, and they were like totally after her because we are doing things that is destroying the earth, and the Father says that when he comes back in Revelations 18, he said, I think it's 18, he says that he'll destroy those who are destroying the earth.
Absolutely.
That is some satisfaction we can think of, but will there be any flesh left on the earth with the way this is a killing field, the stuff that they're feeding us, the vaccinations, and all the other things that they're doing to destroy the temple. The first temple was destroyed. The second temple in 70 A.D. was destroyed. Now this temple is being destroyed.
That's what they're trying to do, and by our own hand, without us realizing it. Galatians 6, 7, and 8 says, "Be not deceived, God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man soweth, that shall he also reap." And so, unfortunately, we sit here and we're praying and we're asking the Most High to heal us, to take care of us, but we keep sowing bad seeds into our body. So this is why we have to back up and start figuring out what can we give our family. We may have to give them less food than they're used to. We may have to, break it down to just a few food groups that we can pull in and say, okay, these are good, these are wholesome for the most part, instead of having our refrigerators packed and jammed with stuff that's killing us. Our snacks and things that we're serving to the little people, the potato chips, and, almost everything has corn syrup in it and corn oil. And that corn, that corn itself, I can't get over it being an insecticide where it kills the bugs. The bugs bite the corn and the bugs keel over and die, and they're trying to, as the kids, pop in that junk that it won't hurt us. I mean, how is that possible? You go into the movie theater.
Well, let me interrupt. Someone told me about corn. Listen to this. They said if you consume corn, it sticks in your system. It's not digestible. And someone told me that if you keep eating corn, it's going to eventually developing your body, and you become, overweight.
Well,
Because it doesn't have the enzymes to break up.
Well, I wouldn't be surprised if that's not right. With this genetically modified food, there is no nutrition in it. As he said in the video, he said our bodies don't even recognize the molecule change. So here we are trying to digest something. We're eating, and we're just pushing this stuff through our system, but it's not giving us nourishment. Now, so we're hungry all the time. You notice we're getting more and more obese people because they can't get satisfied. And that is what's also happening. That corn is everywhere. Go to the movie theater. That stuff is being consumed. Like you can't even buy that because that's got to be genetically modified corn. And you want to get what really kills me? I believe it's Orville Redenbacher. Read the back of it. It says GMO right on there.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And if you want to get a double whammy, take it and put it in the microwave in that little bag that they give you. That little bag is laced with straight up poison chemicals. Don't give that to your children. It's really, really bad. It may be simple and easy to just throw something like that in the microwave, but the microwave itself. Carol, tell them about the microwave.
Well, the doctor said, he said that you just do a simple little experiment. Buy two little cheap plants, put the water in the microwave and one with water, straight out of the tap or wherever you plan to get it. Pour it in that plant, and in 3 days, the one that had the microwave water is going to be dead. Now, that's scary because what is this food doing to us when we microwave it? When you microwave bread turns into a rock if you don't eat it.
Yeah.
I've never seen bread turn into a rock. It's so hard that you could put it up on the counter and use it as a weight for paper. A paper weight.
But you think about what you said. In 3 days, the plant didn't just shrivel up and look a little old. It died. So what, we'll, for a quick cup of coffee, we'll put a cup of coffee in the microwave and, heat up the water and drink it. What are we doing to ourselves just so we can get something done really quickly? Let's heat up the baby's bottle in the microwave. I know people that do it all the time.
I know.
So we're killing ourselves trying to, oh my goodness, to get it done quickly. But I know
I just want to tell you something funny, Shirley. It's so funny because my granddaughter said to me, now you told us we can't use the microwave. How do I warm up this food? And I said, do you realize we warmed up food before microwaves existed? So I had to show her how to put it in the pan, a little sprinkle of water or, something like that and warm up the food. She couldn't believe that you could warm up food without a microwave. It's just like, it's crazy.
Well, we got another caller in queue, Sister Simona. Thanks so much for your call in. And listeners out there, we'd love to hear from you. Shalom, Sister, what'd you say?
I said vice versa. It's good to hear from you, sisters, and keep up the good work. We love you.
Thank you.
We'll see
Thank you.
You should give the number, Cheryl. You should give the number, too.
Okay. Call in if you want to make a comment or ask a question. It's area code 646-200-4309. That's 646-200-4309, and press 1 to get into the host queue. We'd love to hear from you. Okay, Sister Cherie, can you bring in another caller for us?
Sure. I'm going to comment really quick on something that Sister Simona brought out and also something that what I was saying. She mentioned the whole thing about going on a diet and everything, but as you said, it's more than just going on a diet. What was pointed out in the genetic roulette, and I actually also watched it several times before this, because my son was diagnosed with autism at 2 years old, and one of the first things I did was find out about genetically modified foods and remove them from his diet. We have to also stop looking at fat as just people being lazy and, poor diet. Fat is inflammation. Your body is causing inflammation. It's to protect the organs from what we're doing to our body. So all this buildup, all this obesity, is because the inflammation that is being caused by the things that we are ingesting. Our body is basically, the Most High made our bodies to protect itself. So all these foods that we're putting in, whether you think it's only McDonald's, it's more than just that. It can just be the foods that you're buying on the sale rack, for instance. One of the biggest problems with our people is that we will go out and buy the best shoes for our kid because we want to make sure that our kids have the best thing. But then when it comes to putting on the plate, we want to make sure that we buy the 2-for-1 special. And we really need to change our minds about that. It's not about the outer. Like, that's one of the biggest things that the Most High humbled me in with my son, is that I have no problem with going to Payless and getting shoes for him because our food cabinet is stocked with organic foods and making sure his body is nourished with the proper foods versus him just looking like, like he's, like just keeping up with everyone else, keeping up with the Joneses. And it really, yeah, exactly. And it really is just the shaping of our mind. We have to really think about these things because that's one of the biggest fights I have with my family when I express to them about eating organic foods is the expense. And I'm not saying it isn't expensive. We are living in a time where finances are hard, but you know what it is? When our kids' birthdays come along or we're going to have a family barbecue, or whatever the case may be, we will go out, we want to go on vacation, we will go out, we will save every little penny and eat like the paupers, just so that we can get what we need to get instead of doing it the opposite way and making sure that our bodies are nourished. Because as you said, and as the words of the Most High says, our body is the temple of the Most High. We have to nourish it. So I just wanted to comment on that because we do have a tendency to look for the fish that is on sale, and we look for these things, and we may have to spend more money, and unfortunately that's just, we are in captivity and doing this for a reason. This isn't, it was plainly said in Genetic Roulette, this is not about, they commented, they didn't say everything it's about, but basically they're killing us, and they're doing it very, very strategically, and we need to be a little smarter than they are.
I want to add something to what you said in reference to the price. I went shopping just before I came in the house, and I looked at the strawberries. The organic strawberries were $7.99 for 3 pounds, 2 pounds. The big one. Is it 2 pounds or whatever? But then the other ones were $4.99 with a coupon to drop that down to $3.99. It has their big strawberries, and you know how tempting it was to get the bad ones, but I went on and I paid it. Then I looked at the bananas. The bananas were 69 cents a pound for the organic and 49 cents a pound for the non. But I bought it. I bought the organic, and it was painful. I'll tell you the truth. It was painful, but if we're going to eat, we might as well get something that's going to give us nutrition instead of something that's just going to starve us and make us think we're eating like some kind of a trick or something. It's an illusion. You think you're eating food, but you notice that a lot of the foods have the consistency of the fruit, but they do not taste like anything. A lot of the grapes, bite into them, there's no flavor in there. It's just the consistency of a grape, and it's very strange to me.
Let me read this scripture. Colossians 3, 5, and 10. Mortify therefore your members which are upon the earth, fornication, uncleanness, inordinate affection, evil concupiscence, and covetousness, which is idolatry. Now, you see, the thing is, we're talking about mortifying our members. When you're lusting after this food, kind of like in Egypt, when our forefathers talked about the pots of meat that was out there, that their bodies were the lust of the flesh, wanting these things. We really have to mortify our members and just get ourselves under control, because it's that lack of control that's where the world has been able to get over on us. The world is drawing us right in. Let me just, I got one more here that I want to go into, and that's Romans 12:1 and 2. I don't think this is a KJV, but anyway, I beseech you, therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy. That means, of course, we know, set apart and acceptable to the Most High, which is your reasonable service. You know this. Do not be conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. And this is one of the reasons why we put the clip on, so that you could hear this, because faith comes by hearing. And so when you keep hearing these things and hearing all this information about how they really are trying to attack Israel, because right here, well, why didn't they outlaw it here? There's so many of the children of Israel right here. Also, in the other areas in South Africa that they mentioned, where their staple is corn, and that's what they're feeding us. They don't mind losing part of their population, and then the wealthy, they know how to get what they need. But it's for us. I guess we've got to move into being like John the Baptist with the locust and wild honey. You guys ready for that?
Exactly. I wanted to also comment on something else that Sister Cherie said, that the body is set to survival.
Yeah.
We, no matter what we do, compensate. Sometimes it looks like it's going to kill us, but like the doctors are always telling us to lower our cholesterol. Well, the cholesterol is there to protect the veins.
Yeah,
So because when it starts getting rigid, it becomes like a sticky or a softening of those arteries and what have you. And they're telling us, they're giving us drugs and things to reduce that. It's just like everything they tell us is the opposite. Your blood pressure goes up because the capillaries are so small that without that salt, it takes much more pressure to push it through. And then they'll lower your pressure. It's like, okay, why don't we find out why these things are happening to us before we start covering up the symptoms?
Managing symptoms, managing them.
Yeah.
All right, Sister Cherie, let's get a caller in here. We see the lines are lit up.
Yes, Sister Diane. Yes, Sister Diane.
Sister Diane, shalom. How are you?
Hey, Sister Shirley and Sister Carol, I'm doing just fine. And I hope you all are doing fine as well today.
Thank you. We are, Sister.
First of all, I just want to give all praises to the Most High God, who is the author and the finisher of our faith, and He's worthy to be praised. And and I pray for Israel. Yes, he is, and He's kind, and He's generous, and He's compassionate, and He, will send with His Son, Jesus the Christ, pretty soon. I know some of you are called Yeshua, which is His name in Hebrew, but I've learned English, and I call Him Jesus, and I have received many blessings,
Sister Diane, don't be apologetic about that. When we were growing up, we learned to love that name, and you don't have to be apologetic. Apologize, rather.
Yes.
We understand. We understand,
it's okay.
But as we grow,
we understand where you are. Right.
Right.
Okay. Yes, I was raised in a Baptist church, and at a young age, and then I was raised. Not raised, but as a young adult, I went into the Seventh-day Adventist Church, in which I learned a lot about things, and now I've learned an even greater calling. This calling is the Israelites and the true people of God.
Sister, are you affiliated with the GOCC church in your area?
No, there is no church. I tried to. There's one, I think, in Cleveland, but I haven't. I haven't, gone out, in the avenue to. But because I know there's nothing is too hard for God, but I have to, seek Him where I am.
Okay,
well,
that's
we
fine.
all
pray
know
that
this.
a facility, yes, I pray that a facility is coming here.
Exactly.
Yes,
Pray to the Lord of the harvest. That's what the
Yes.
word says. Because the laborers are few, the harvest is plenty, but the laborers are few. Let's pray to the Lord that He'll send us some more strong men to take over different territories. Let's ask Him so that He can feed the flock and Kwam Yasha'Allah. Sister Diana, do you have a comment or a question that you wanted to share?
I have a comment. This is thing, I think it was looking in Psalms 104. I was trying to find it. It says, when the wicked is, they done torched everything. They done corrupted this whole place. It said, when the wicked are eradicated from this place, the fir tree, the fir tree is going to rejoice. The mountains, the water, everybody's going to rejoice.
Yeah.
When wicked folks are eradicated from this place.
That's
this is also
right.
what I wanted to say. This is what I wanted to say about as far as these. I've done research, and these Mexicans, they are now importing genetically modified food, everywhere. They are in cahoots with the enemy. And there's, the 12 tribes of Israel, if they're not, this is going up with a whole lot of tell for this. If they are not of Negro descent, they are not of us. Now,
well,
these people,
that
when they first start coming here, let me say this. When
Sister Diane,
Sister
Diane, I go ahead, Cheryl. You do this.
I think the most important thing is to let the Most High separate the wheat from the tares. Let's just kind of stay focused on, on what we do have in common, and those that are trying to walk upright. Because I remember Elder Rakar gave a talk the other day, and he was talking about a gentleman that was so against the Edomites. And he came to find out that his father was an Edomite. So, it's very difficult. The thing is that if they're walking with the Most High, all praises to His name. Let's try not to, go there. But, thank you so much, Sister Diane, for that comment. Go ahead. I'm sorry, sister. Go ahead.
Yes, this, you're talking about they putting the stuff in the air and in our water and in our food and the medicines. They get you all hooked on these GMO or what you call that, GMS stuff, and and then give you this medicine which defeats the purpose. And some of these medicines, the food makes you crave food. You never get enough to eat, and
it's
true. Defeating the purpose. Or you put a thing, all right, well, you need to lose a little weight. And when I'm sorry, but they're giving you this medicine and these foods that make you gain weight.
This is so true.
And see, now that we know that they are putting these chemtrails, putting in our medicine, in our water, in our food, who do we call on?
Well, sister,
when they do all this to us.
Okay,
what do
sister.
We do? What do we call on?
You got to call on the Most High, and that's why we're all coming together right now to see what we can do to make sure that we, follow in this. So thank you so much, sister, for sharing all that. I really appreciate it. And, all praises to the Most High for you. Okay, sister?
And for Sister Diane, I just want to say, Psalms 46:2 says, "Therefore will not we fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountains be carried into the midst of the sea." They're doing everything they can to destroy us. Strategically directed straight for us. We go into the dollar stores and what have you, and all that food is filled with corn syrup and all kinds of things, and we think we're getting a bargain, but you know what?
It's bad.
He still is going to win this battle. He's still going to win the battle.
I think you lost Sister Diane. So, okay, so Sister Reese, let's go to the next call.
Okay, we have Sister Shara.
Okay. Hello, Sister Shara.
Hello,
Shalom,
Shalom,
Sister
lady.
Shara. How
Shalom.
are you?
Good. How are you?
We're hanging in. We're hanging in. Did you enjoy the show tonight?
I did. I really did. I always do. I just had a comment. I was just thinking about how much the Lord's Prayer, has become so much more important to me. You know, every word we read in the Bible is important, but that part of the prayer that says, "Give us this day our daily bread," and I'm sure it even has more, more depth to it in the Hebrew, but it has so important to me. I'm no longer so hungry that I sit down and say, "Oh, thank you, Lord, for the food, amen." That I just eat. I slow down at that part, because when you don't have the money to get the foods that you know you need, that prayer becomes real. And when you say, "Give us this day our daily bread," you really need him to help.
Yes.
It's the reason why he wants us to say that prayer, and that part is in there. And the Bible talks about them taking away the daily sacrifices. That is just, it has happened. It is happening. It's not getting any better. They have taken away our daily sacrifices, and we are left scrambling, trying to get the nourishment that we need. And so when we pray to him, he helps us. He hears that daily bread part of that prayer, as he hears all of it. And he's going to help us to be able to get the right food. I think about sometimes when I don't have the money to get that organic food. But the thing is, I know he told us, the first step is wanting to eat right, and then when the Most High sees that you want to eat right, that you're seeking his kingdom first and his righteousness, because that's a part of it. He says all those things will be added unto you, such as having the right foods. So I'm believing that since I do want to eat right, which is a part of seeking his kingdom and righteousness, he'll make a way for me and for us to get the right foods, because having this doggone MS and not eating right, that's just a double whammy on top of all of this stuff they put out there for us to consume and then call it food. So that prayer is very important to me, and I'm working on doing better, because I must admit, hearing that stuff about corn, that was for me, because I know it has, I've heard it over and over, it has no nutritional value. Corn just sits in your body.
No, they have destroyed it. They have destroyed it.
Poison.
The American Indians lived off of it. They called it maize. And it's a very interesting word, because the word to eat, food and to eat like is mazan in Hebrew, so it's like maize. That was what they ate. And but Sister Sherrod, I wanted to ask you if you could write us, because there's a lady that was on the web who had MS and was in a wheelchair for 11 years, and because she changed her diet, she's now walking, and her doctors told her, "You better get back on that medication because you're going to be in bad shape." And she lost like 150 pounds, and she's a beautiful woman. But she's a Hebrew, and if you write us, I can give you the link to her information. You might be interested in that.
Okay, good. I know those doctors. When I got off that medicine, they tried, and you'll be dead in 10 years, and all of this stuff they told me, just trying to scare me. And I fell for it at first. I didn't fall for that. What happened was I got taken off work, and I was trying to find a way to still sustain before I got another job. And so the only way I was thinking, trying to play into their system, is I got to get this FMLA, and and that made me have to get my doctor's approval. And I hadn't seen her in I don't know when, but she's like, "The only way I'm going to approve this is if you take this medicine." And I took that one pill. I took one pill thinking, okay, once she turns her back, I'm done. This is the one and only one out there. That thing put me down I'm still battling over that.
Look at that.
Over that one pill I took. Oh, my goodness. And so
like
I
Elder
was
Ricard says, straight up madness.
Yeah, Frankenstein medicine.
High sorcery.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly. I said I will never do that again. Make a long story short, I don't need that job. I work at home now. I don't need that job or they Frankenstein medicine.
Beautiful. Praises to the Most
and
High.
you know something that's amazing is that they do great studies to determine what pills or whatever they should make to be the most profitable. They don't just go out here like it's an altruistic saying that they're doing, we just want to help people. No, they look for where they can make some money.
Yeah. And keep money coming. All right, Shra, we're gonna, unless you have another comment, we're gonna go to the board because we're running low on time now. And I'd like to get some of the other callers in. Shalom to you, sister.
Shalom.
Press 1 to come out of the host queue, and let's take our next caller, Sister.
Okay, we have Sister Diane. Sister Diane?
Hi, how are y'all this evening? Shalom to y'all sisters.
Oh, shalom. I thought you were the sister that... How are you?
No, this is Diane that y'all know. I'm good.
Yes. Good.
Yes. You know, I actually had a comment when y'all was talking about the whole Monsanto thing. Do you know Monsanto is responsible for Agent Orange? They were the developers of Agent Orange.
Yes.
And that's why
and
you had a lot of
DCP also.
Oh, yes.
They're the one that claimed that it was not harmful. I know a few people that left here from it, you know.
Wow. And my father, when he came from the military, when he was in Vietnam, he kept saying, they did something to us. But they thought my father was bugging out, and come to find out, it came out to be true. I just want to, and I just want to say this, too. I also noticed that I was looking at the ingredients of Wrigley's gum, you know, that makes double mint spearmint. And I noticed that they put aspartame in there now. They never used to do that.
It's in everything.
Every gum on that counter, read every one of them, juicy food, all of them, gums that you would say, well, we don't care about the sugar, we want sugar, aspartame. And it's genetically modified too.
And you know, it causes brain damage. I'm unfortunately an avid gum chewer, and I would chew this gum, and I would get headaches and everything. And I'm telling you, I stopped chewing that gum, and the Whole Foods sells gum that's sweetened with xylitol or sweetened with some gums, and they have kind of a strange taste every now and then, but if you need it, if you really need that chewing gum, it's expensive. But, you know, if you can get something that is wholesome, or as far as I can tell that's wholesome, you know, the ingredients that's in it, it doesn't have the aspartame. That's really what's the most important thing about it. So, you know, you can't, there are alternatives out there. You got to search them out. But, I mean, it's like a jar with, I don't know, maybe 50 pieces of gum in there, and it's like $13 or something like that.
Yes, because I noticed, like, when I even tried the Orbit gum, I noticed, like, because it was sugarless and they was putting, additives in there, it was doing something to my head. And I said, it's this gum. So I stopped chewing it. Yeah, and the last thing I just wanted to say, when Sister Carol was talking about a woman that had MS, I actually have an MS story too, because where I work in healthcare, and there was a woman that came in one day, and she told me, she said, you know what, let me tell you something. She said, my friend had multiple sclerosis for years. She said she moved to Arizona, and she doesn't have it no more.
Well, there's a study that was done, Sister Diane, that said that multiple sclerosis really takes heavily in the cold climate. It's some kind of way. It causes the brain. You know, it's like what's that thing called, scar tissue on the brain. But they noticed it much more in cold climates. So
wow.
I don't know. She may have a point.
Yeah.
That's
Well, whatever
deep.
you got to do, it's like Elder said, be like pilgrims. If it's not working for you here, pack it up. You know.
Absolutely. No, absolutely.
You got to do it.
But I thank y'all so much for letting me speak. And
absolutely.
y'all have a great night.
Love you.
Thank you. Love you too, all of y'all. Shalom.
Shalom.
Okay, let's go to our next caller.
Okay, we have Sister Giovanni.
Okay.
Sister Giovanni. You have a question your comment?
I have a comment, actually.
Okay.
First, I want to say with the aspartame gum, shalom. I'm sorry, I'm so used to speaking to you in the house. Oh, goodness. Okay, but with the aspartame gum, I used to chew gum a lot with aspartame in it, and suddenly I started realizing that my memory was really, really bad. Like, my husband thought I was going crazy. And so after a while, like, I would forget things immediately. I'd be looking to go do something, and then suddenly I was doing something else. I completely forgot what I was doing. And so anyway, I stopped chewing that gum, and my memory is much better now. So I do think that it does have a really bad effect on your brain and your short-term memory. But I just was calling in for a comment, to give a comment that to remind people that know and to let people that don't know, make them aware that the store Trader Joe's, they say that anything that they have to put their name on, that they put their name on, cannot be genetically can't have GMOs in it. So, I mean, if you have a Trader Joe's near you, and I would go there, and that's what we've been doing. And it's not so expensive there either. You can buy a pretty good amount of stuff in there. So if it has their name on it, it's not GMO. So I just wanted to tell people that because it's been really helpful for me.
I'll comment on that. I was in Trader Joe's a couple of days ago, and I was looking for something by Bragg's. And not that Bragg's is bad, but I was looking for it, and the guy said to me, no, we only sell our brand. Mm-hmm. We only sell Trader Joe's here. So I said, I didn't even realize, I bought stuff there. I never paid attention that everything said Trader Joe's on it. Mm-hmm. Oh, amazing. Yeah, that's a good point. And you're right. They are very, very, what's the word? Competitive. Their prices are competitive.
Let me give a quick rundown on some of the names that we have. We have Amy's Organics, Applegate Farms Organics, Cio Bella Gelato Organics, Earthbound Farms, Earth Balance, Eden Foods Organics, Ludberg's Family Farms, Mary's Gone Crackers. I love those crackers. Nature's Path, Organic Valley, Pacific Foods, Spectrum Organics, and Stonyfield Organics. That's just to name a few that you can find out there brand-wise that are non-GMO.
And what I've noticed is that some of the products are now labeling this with this stamp that says non-GMO on their products. So that's a good thing to look for, too. At least if it doesn't say organic, because everything isn't going to be organic, but at the very least, not a GMO.
Exactly. Okay, Giovanni, you have anything more?
No, that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, let's get to the next caller, sister.
Okay, we have Sister Tracy.
Okay. Sister Tracy, 803.
Shalom.
Shalom, how are you?
I'm wonderful. I just wanted to thank you for the information you brought forth thus far. Love you both. And I just had a few comments. And it was one of the sisters that came on before me made a great point that I was thinking that how important it is for us, considering, we have no idea what's in our food, and, there's a certain level of control that we have, but it's so important, and we've taken it for granted, when we bless our food. Growing up, it just became, God is good, God is great, everything, you just go through emotions, but, when you hear this type of stuff, it just makes you so mindful that, in spite of what the enemy's plan is to bring damage and to do harm to God's people, that, when we pray, we really believe that, Most High, Ahaya, is going to protect our bodies, and he's going to sanctify even that which might not be intended for good. And so that was just one of my thoughts, the importance of sanctifying our food, and that it really means something now, once we know what the agenda and the strategy is with the food that we eat.
That's so true.
The other thing I wanted to say is something, that has been dealing with me personally is, fasting. And because actually Sister Shirley Lisa had said something to me. We were talking about, healthy eating, and she said our appetite and the foods that we eat, that is literally something that we are confronted with 24 hours a day. The choice of foods that we eat. And it's really, it's really hard, to do what is right and to eat what is healthy all the time. And so I was just thinking about fasting and just that it's necessary spiritually for us, but also that, I really believe that there's an aspect of fasting in the days ahead, in these last and evil days. We might not have food to eat. And I believe that the Most High is trying to cultivate in us a lifestyle to give us a head start. We might not be able to eat 3 times a day, literally. It's not available. But if we have cultivated this type of lifestyle, and also the fasting itself, and so it's sort of a win-win. And so I've just been, in my daily, life, just really asking God to help me in that area, fasting, personally, and because we really need the help of the Holy Spirit and the Most High.
Yes, we do.
To be disciplined in what we eat,
and it's so funny you say that, Tracy, because who told us we needed 3 meals a day? Who told us that we had to have, all these food groups? The same people that are trying to kill us.
Diet, right?
Yeah,
right.
the SAD
diet.
Yeah, the sad American diet.
American.
Right.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Sister Tracy, may I just ask you, how are you facing this as far as fasting is concerned? What have you committed to? Do you do it like once a week, or is this
it's not for me. I don't, lock myself into something. I'm a fast for 7 days, and for me, like some days I'll fast from sugar food. Some days, I'll fast from meat. Because I feel like when we put pressure on ourselves, and it mentally messes us up. So I just make a concerted effort every day, to deprive myself of something, that my body desires. And that's all fasting is. It's depriving yourself. And it doesn't have to be food. It could be television. It could be, whatever. But it's about, like you said, mortifying our members and sacrificing and presenting our body a living sacrifice. So we have to get used to not having what we want.
Absolutely.
And because there's going to come a time when we don't have what we want. That's just going to be the way it is, So I just thought that was maybe something helpful that we as, other sisters can just do personally. Just start getting used to not having what we want,
It's true. I started you're making me think about the airplane that crashed a long time ago, and the people were there. It wasn't 2 days before they were acting like they were starving to death and ate each other, ate the body of those that after 2 days. Now, come now, let's
all creatures are not to be.
But see, that also brings out something too, that we think we can bow our heads down and ask God to bless some of this food, and we know it's not any good. We need to realize we're putting food sacrifices. We're putting it in these something wholesome.
You may want to check your headset, Cheryl. Your headset is like underwater.
Okay, how am I doing now?
Much better.
Any better? Okay.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so.
There was just one more thing I wanted to ask you guys about. You were thinking they were talking about the corn, and because I like fresh corn on the cob from the farmer's market. That is okay, right?
If it's non-GMO.
Non-GMO.
Now wait, let me say something. But let me say something to you. There are farmers that are small farmers that don't have the funding to get out there and get the label that says that they're non-GMO. by the FDA and don't have the ability to get the organic stamp on it, that's something you'll have to kind of try to look in and go in through a back door to find out information about. Like a lot of times we get these watermelons at this time of the year that have those wonderful black seeds in them and what have you. And I'm sure they'll put a stop to that eventually. But when you go in the grocery store, yeah, they'll have some reason why it's not good, or it's because they haven't had a chance to zap it with radiation and all that stuff. But go, when you got these little farmers, try to get to who really knows, and then this is where we have to come in and pray and ask the Most High, to guide us and direct us to the places that we can go and find out where this food is wholesome at, because otherwise, how do we get that information?
Right.
Okay. Well, thanks,
that was
Trace.
This other one, could you guys share the link for that audio clip? Is that something we can
Oh, sure. Could
yes.
you just write to us, and we'll give you the link?
Okay. Great.
Yeah,
shalom,
and there's a lot of good.
All, and shalom to the other sisters out there.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of good stuff attached to that one also.
I just want to share a quick story. I hope I can make it real quick because I'm real, brevity is not one of my, what do you call it?
Strong point.
Strong points, right. There was a scientist on television, and he talked about the various sizes of the planets and the moon and the stars in reference to or comparison to the Earth. And so when they showed the Earth compared to the sun, it's pretty small. But then when they would show the suns that were even bigger, or the stars that were even bigger, and I know this is what the scientists tell us, but anyway, and I mean, by the time they finished with some of the medium-sized stars, the Earth looked like a dot, or maybe you couldn't even see it, and it just makes you think about that scripture. I think it's Psalms 8 that says, "Who is man that thou art mindful of him?" The Son of Man that thou visitest us. He cares about us. Even though we're this little bleep on the radar screen, or maybe we're not even on the radar screen, we're on his radar screen. And I just wanted to share that because when I was thinking about how they think they can attack us, but who is man? Who are we that he's mindful of us? I just wanted to give you that. Okay, let's go to the next caller.
That's so beautiful.
Okay, we have Sister Kyle. There's also a website that you can go to, by the way, for those brands that you mentioned, Sister Shirley. You just type in, in Google, non-GMO projects for the ones that can be labeled, because there's a lot of those brands, but they also give you other brands that people can find at, your Fairways, your Whole Foods, because Trader Joe's has their own brand of other things. It's called a non-GMO project. We have Sister Kyle.
Okay.
Hi, Sister Kyle. Shalom.
Shalom, sisters. How are you?
Okay.
Good. How about you?
Pretty well today.
Let's see, how's Pittsburgh? I think if I remember your name, it's in Pittsburgh, right?
I am in Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is humid today, so stay comfortable.
Very good.
Yeah, I just wanted to make a quick comment about just organic products and organic labeling, because I just want to make sure that people, when they're going out to buy or when they're going grocery shopping, that they're making sure that they're still reading the labels, because something could be labeled organic, or organic might be very big and visible, but it could be just made with one organic product or something like that, and the rest of the products aren't 100% organic. So just to be careful when you're going out buying things, because I've noticed some things, like if you go to Walmart, you might see organic on there, but it could just be made with or have specific ingredients that are organic, and not everything is organic.
Yeah, that's a good point, because another thing that they do is like to say all natural ingredients. That's another one of those that throws you off. You don't know what that is. But there are some codes on the barcodes, I believe, that tell you, that kind of classify how organic it is. And maybe we can get that information and bring that forth on the next program, because I'm sure you know what I'm talking about.
Well, definitely that 9 in the front means organic. Now, as to whether or not the entire product is organic, it's supposed to say certified, U.S. certified organic. Can we trust that? But nonetheless, it's supposed to say that. And then if you see an 8 as the first number, that's automatically GMO if you see an 8. And then the other thing is not to get mixed up with GMO and hybrid. Now, a hybrid is not that good for us either. You know, like they say the watermelons are not GMOs that don't have the seeds, they're hybrids. But with it being a hybrid, it fixes it where these seeds cannot reproduce. They're sterile. I would think that that's not good for our bodies either. But it's not simple. Now, what the government, I hate to say it, but what's trying to be done is to minimize the amount of foods that are available out there so that they can control them. But we, from our side, have to minimize the amount of foods that come into our home so we can control them.
Right.
Indeed.
Just one thing about the watermelon and the seeds. The seeds of a watermelon are very good for you, and they have a lot of nutritional value in them, too. And if you're ever, like if you juice, you can juice the watermelon seeds and the rind of the watermelon.
Yeah.
Yeah, my granddaughter loves that rind. I don't know what that's all about, but she loves that.
That's wonderful. That's absolutely wonderful.
But I take the watermelon and throw it in the Vitamixer, and it chops up the seeds, and it's just so delicious to me that you could make, if you wanted to, an ice pop out of that and just go to heaven, you know. I love that.
Okay, we're getting close, guys. Sister Kyle, you have anything more? That was such a good bit of information. All right, Sister Shalom.
Another question, but I'm going to email that.
Ahead.
So
No, you can do that if it's
Go ahead.
quick.
And well, it was just about, I heard at the beginning of the show, one of you mentioned about your granddaughter and something that she's taking that, or your husband, I'm sorry.
It's both of them. It's all of us now. We're all doing it.
Okay. So with some pains. And I know you mentioned your husband with the back pain, and I was like, what is that? I got to find out.
Well, I'll tell you what it is really, really quickly. In the morning, I take a 16-ounce bottle of water and put a half a teaspoon to 3/4 of a teaspoon of sea salt, and I use the pink Himalayan salt, shake it up, and I drink it at room temperature. And then throughout the day, you should have 50% of your body weight in ounces. So if you weighed 60 pounds, you would have 30 ounces of water during the day, fresh water. So, and then he's taking coconut oil too. He's taking 3 tablespoons of coconut oil during the day. So if they, like me, I could put that right in my mouth. It doesn't taste bad to me, but some people mix it in their juices or whatever. But that's basically all he's doing, and I'm real serious. I've never seen anyone that had pain like him where he was literally almost crying. Men can't handle pain like women, and their doctors have backed that up with scientific evidence. But
Sister Kyle, I still think you should send an email, and Carol, that way you can give her the book to read so she can get all the information about it.
I like to talk. Sorry.
No, I don't want her to miss it because sometimes you really need all the information, especially when you're trying to, patient yourself. You know what I mean?
That's true. Okay. Thank you, Sister Kyle.
All right, Sister, I think we have one more caller in the queue, and we're almost there.
Yes, and we have Sister Lori.
Yes. Can you ladies hear me?
Shalom, Sister Lori. We can hear you.
Okay, shalom to you all. Shalom to all our sisters on the line. Also, I just wanted to make a very quick comment. Well, first of all, I want to thank you ladies, over and over again for what you're bringing to, this community of people that are probably new that are coming on all the time. Me and myself, I am one of those people that, found out about GOCC, and I've just been full throttle ahead and been telling everyone that I know. And every
turn that I, come to with GOCC is just beautiful because there are other, areas that I'm finding out about and other support systems that are in place, and you ladies really bring it. So I wanted to just thank you.
All praises.
Thank the Most High for you. And I wanted to make a comment. I don't know, if anyone else feels this way, but oftentimes, with the daily routine of just trying to make sure, our families have what they need and, trying to make sure we have the right foods and, just the daily press of just trying to make sure everything is just right so that we have healthy bodies and healthy minds. I just get weary, and I'm oftentimes I'm like, asking the Most High, I wish I didn't even have to eat. I mean, I don't know if other people feel like that.
No, I know. I spend all day worrying about what I need.
Right. And it's really, it comes to a point where, sometimes, I stop and think, I wish, that we were beyond this point where we are, where we have to eat. But that which leads to, the other thing that, fasting comes in, and that does really help strengthen us spiritually and our bodies physically. So I wanted to, just say that I'm very thankful, for the other ladies on the line who brought that out, how important it is. And then I wanted to also ask a question about, do you have any information on Amish foods? How healthy are those foods? Because I'm in Michigan, and I know some of the Midwest states, we have the Amish farms, and they are in the grocery store. So I eat a lot of that particular chicken, and so I was just wondering what you ladies have to say about Amish farms. If you're familiar with that?
Well, I live in Pennsylvania. And I'm very close. I mean, when I say very close, I don't mean I'm around the corner, but I can drive easily to Lancaster, where many of the Amish are at, and I've noticed their farms. Their chickens are free range. They're not in those big bins where they've got them all tied up. So that's a little bit reassuring. But what we probably should do, just so we're not guessing at this, is do a little study on that to find out what the Amish is doing, because I know that they have like raw milk. The lady used to come down in Philadelphia, and I would buy that for my granddaughter because I was told that the goat milk was a little bit closer to breast milk. And so I was buying raw goat milk from her, but there's farms up here that do it too. So let's do a study so we're not, confused.
Guessing at it. Yeah, we can't guess at it. And then there are a lot of co-ops, too, that I know there's a co-op that's not too far from me that if you make a commitment to work in the co-op once every 3 weeks, I think it is, that you can get majorly discounted organics in there. And all they have in there organic. So look around for some of those kinds of shops also, and of course, you definitely want to think about if you're eating meat, you definitely want to make sure it's organic, free range. The fact that they're feeding chickens corn and fish corn, who ever heard of fish eating corn?
Jumping out. Yeah, you can just see him jumping out, going into field. And I'm getting used to that corn, and then jumping back in the water.
Exactly.
It's not happening.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, I'm finding myself now, we do have to kind of just really just sit down and research everything out, to really find out what the origin is and, how safe is, us eating the little meat that we are consuming if we're eating meat. So, and I'm trying to move away into, maybe to be into veganism, but until I get there, I'm just wanting to know when I'm putting, these particular foods that I'm buying all the time. I've been buying Amish chicken for years and consuming it for years, but I never knew, exactly the origin of, what is being done with those chickens, especially now because I know a lot of things are changing. So I just, I'm definitely gonna, listen and do my research on my end, and, and hopefully you ladies can bring, some information on your end, and that would be great. So I just wanted
and with saying, God bless you. Keep up, all the beautiful work that you're doing, because we're out here, we're listening, and I know the Most High is, He's bringing us to another level so that we can make it, into Zion, basically. That's where we're going to go. And so I know that you ladies are definitely the platform to, help us get there. So please keep up the good work, and thank you, and shalom.
All praises, shalom. Well, we're about there. Go ahead, Carol. Go ahead.
Just before we finish, he brought out a point. I don't know if this one did, but the GMOs, that corn and the Roundup is patented. That if a farmer...
It's what? What was that
it
word?
It has a patent on it. That if a farmer collects the seeds, he can be sued.
This is true.
Now, he was also saying that that they can trace the GMOs and that it's changing chromosomes in our body. Now, if they own the seeds, will they eventually own us if our bodies are genetically modified?
You mean like our offspring, so to speak.
As if they belong to them. Yeah, it's just a horrid thing to think about.
Well, I just read an article where Monsanto got won a lawsuit of over $23 million from small farmers that he discovered were planting their seeds. And the bad part about it too is that these seeds were planted by the wind. The wind carries it into these other farms, and because
pollination.
He could test it and see that it was genetic. His seed is there. The offspring belongs to him. Now, you can take his seed and feed it to your animals. He definitely wants them to get poisoned too, but he does not want you to plant it and think that you can go and get another bumper crop of crops from the seeds that you have gathered at harvest, and then think that they're going to belong to him because he has a patent on it, and that's basically where it's at. So we got about 4 minutes to. This is true. We got about 4 minutes to wrap this up. I'm going to say, Sister Lisa, if you're out there, we didn't forget about you and your testimony, to hear from you and others that want to call in. Next week, we're going to try and wrap up, where we're at and get back on track. But we do want to, do some challenges and hear from you guys as to what changes you're making in your life and how the food is affecting your bodies and how you're dealing with your families, because this is what it's all about: coming together, undergirding each other, walking with His Most High. Go ahead, Carol. And let me just throw this. The song we heard was from Sister Tracy, and we thank for her. Go ahead, Carol.
Oh no, I just wanted to say shalom.
Sister Cherie, you want to say anything?
Yes, shalom to all the listeners. Have a blessed evening.
Yes. All right. Shalom all. All praise to His name.
All praises to a higher through your Shire. This one is for Israel.
If we've been sold as blonde hair and blue eyes, why is it so hard to believe the Messiah looks like you and I, huh? Thick nose, hair wool, skin kissed by the sun, lips full, yeah, it's all bull. Lies upon lies upon lies is what they stack. They piled it on thick. Now look at how we act, trying to get the fans to understand and see the facts. Why is it that everything that's bad equals black? The prophets were exact. Yeshua's coming back. Satan's on a rampage, yet we remain slack. Steady blending in and covering his tracks. Weaving in apostasy, we can't have that, no.
Scattered amongst the nations and kingdoms, cause we were disobedient people to the Most High. I thank the Most High, cause He sent His Son to die. They tried to keep us in bondage.